Hello and good morning to all of you. My friends, today I want to discuss the 14 points presented by Jinnah in the year 1929. By the way, I am not going to discuss all the 14 points one by one, but I will definitely discuss the points those are highly significant for our exams and equally important in order to understand the shape of India which was developing at that time. But before all these things, let me tell you one thing, and I know you have definitely read in your school days, that is known as the third law of Newton. And what it says that every action has equal and opposite reaction. In Jinnah's 14 point, it was a reaction. So obviously the question will come, then what was the action? So the action was the Nehru report, which had been presented in the year 1928. So you can say that these 14 points of Jinnah, they were brought in response to this Nehru report. So whenever anyone is discussing these 14 points, so I don't think it is possible for him to discuss these 14 points of Jinnah without taking the reference of Nehru report. So I will discuss 2 to 3 points. Those are important enough in order to understand the whole psychology of that time. And the first provision which was given inside this Nehru report, which was not accepted by the Jinnah, that was related to the representation in the Central Legislative Assembly. Nehru report had mentioned that we want to provide 1/4 representation of the Muslims in the Central Legislative Assembly, 1/4. But when Jinnah read this provision, he became little angry and he told that we are going to outrightly reject this provision because we want 1/3 representation in the Central Legislative Assembly, not 1/4. So this was the first bone of contention between the Congressy people and a Muslim League, which was being represented by Jinnah, where Jinnah has told that we require 1/3 representation in the Central Legislative Assembly, then only our interest and our welfare can be taken care of. So this was one of the points given among all 14 points represented by Muhammad Ali Jinnah in the year 1929. Now the second provision, which was also not accepted by the Jinnah, and he mentioned in his 14 points. So what was the second point? My friends, you know, we have these three lists: the central list, state list, and the concurrent list. In central list, the subjects are given on which only central government has the right to formulate the laws. In the same manner, in state list, state government has the right to formulate the law. In concurrent list, what happens that those subjects are mentioned on which the center as well as the state government, they both have the right to formulate the law. For instance, education. In education, the central government can formulate the law as well as the state government can formulate the law. But there was one more thing, that was the residuary powers or the residuary matters or the residuary subjects. Residuary subjects means the subjects those are not mentioned in the central list or in the state list or in the concurrent list as well. I mean, these residual matters, they were not mentioned anywhere. So the question is, who has the right to frame the laws on these residual matters? In the Nehru report, it had been mentioned that the central government has the right to frame the laws on these residual subjects, on these residual matters. But my friends, Jinnah was also not agree in this law-making power which has been given to the center, because Jinnah was very well aware that if states are getting this power, then it will be good for us, because we are not in the majority, therefore we cannot have our government in the center, but we can definitely have the government in some of the states. And if this power where residual matters are given, if this power to frame the laws on the residual matters, if this power is given to the state, then definitely we can have the laws according to our own convenience, according to our own interest. But if the central government gets this power, then they might go against our interest, and they may not think as good as we will be able to think with respect to our community. So this was one more bone of contention, where these Congressy people, or in the Nehru report, it had been mentioned that the residual subjects, the power to make the laws on these matters must be given to the center. But Jinnah, as he was also quite intelligent man, he told that we are not going to have the government in the center at any cost. So it will be better to provide this power to the states, so that we could frame the laws according to our own convenience. Now the third point which I want to discuss, that was related to the communal representation. In the Nehru report, the communal representation was outrightly rejected. Communal representation means only Muslim people have the right to elect the Muslim representatives. But the Congressy people, and especially Jawaharlal Nehru, he was he was completely against these kinds of things. However, Motilal Nehru was the head of this Nehru report, but Congressy as a whole, they were against this communal representation. But Jinnah, he knew that if we are getting this power of the communal representation, then it will be very easy for us to elect the representative who thinks about the welfareness of the Muslim community, who can take care in a better manner in comparison to the Congress people, or any person who is outside of the Muslim community. So it will be good for us if through this communal representation we are getting the Muslim representative. So this was not accepted by the in the Nehru report, but Jinnah was saying that we need the communal representation so that we could easily get the Muslim representatives. Because my friends, it is very simple. If other communities are also given right to elect the candidate, then let's assume there is one state where Muslim population is there, but other communities people are also living, and one candidate is fighting the election. So Muslim people, they will lose their power to elect the Muslim representatives, because now the other communities people have also equal right to elect the representative of that territory. But if that community or other than the Muslim community is not given the right to elect, to cast their vote, then obviously the Muslim people will be, it will be very easy for them to elect the Muslim representatives. So these were 2 to 3 points. Those have been mentioned in Jinnah's 14 points, which was presented in 1929. And after that, the debate, discussion, and dialogue happened between the Muslim League and this Congress party. So what happened next, we will discuss in the next lecture. Thank you. Thank you very much.